there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Yakuza 5 EX Hard Difficulty video walkthrough. This is part 1, chapter 2. It is the Uninvited Guest. We're still playing as Kazuma Kiryu, and we are moving around. I cannot remember the name of this place. I do apologise, guys, it's been a little while since I played this game. Other than to record it, and then of course I was skipping all the cutscenes and all the dialogue, so I didn't really have chance to remember where we are. But this is a little bit longer, this video, but it's still not too long, so I can't go into full depth about me and Yakuza and our whirlwind romance, but I will talk a little bit about things I was speaking of in the previous video, which is we're going to be doing the main missions, we're going to be going straight to the objectives and getting them done. This is Premium Adventure Mode, I think it's called, where we carry and inherit all of the things from our previous playthroughs. I didn't have anything too ridiculous. Oh, this guy here, by the way, I call him the Michael Jackson dude. He's the rich bastard. If you ever see anybody in this silver sequin suit, you want to always fight them, because there's a chance that he'll drop a platinum plate. The platinum plate sells for 150,000 yen, and it's a really easy way of making money if you can find a lot of these guys and you can get those fortunate drops. The only problem with it is you can drop other plates as well. And just then I went into the crazy dragon heat mode. I don't like that mode at all. I did that by accident just then because I went to taunt him, and in Yakuza 3, when you taunt and you have heat, it does not transform. In this game, it does. Really, really annoying. And I wasn't holding the button as well that stops you from doing the heat actions. So instead, wasted all my heat bar, turned into that crazy invincible mode where you do that same cookie cutter bullshit combo that I really don't like, and ended up kicking that guy's ass. But we'll talk about that a little bit later, when it's a bit more relevant. Other than, it's an interesting new addition to this particular Yakuza, I just don't use it. So now is the first fight of this sequence. It is against the Devil Killers, and the combat in this game is a mixture of evading, blocking, and attacking. You'll notice right now I'm glowing blue. If you're completely new to Yakuza, that means that the bar beneath my HP has filled up to a certain parameter and it's given me heat mode. And when you're in heat mode in Yakuza, you get certain benefits. The benefits that you have will be dictated by what level you are and what skills you own. One of the greatest benefits of it, if you've leveled it up a little bit, will be that it gives you the ability to poise certain attacks. It will give your character a measure of armor, which means it's harder for you to be interrupted when you attack, which is very powerful. However, if you get hit, it lowers your heat gauge. And the most powerful thing about heat is that when you have it like that and it manifests on your character with the aura, it means you can do particularly damaging heat techniques. And in Yakuza 5, these techniques do incredible amounts of damage. We're talking massive, massive damage, and they will get you through a lot of fights just purely by using them and knowing how to use them. But right now we're doing one of the missions that's introducing you to a lot of the side stuff for this particular character. You're going to see me messing with the camera here. The camera's in uninverted by default, and I don't know if you can change it, so I found it really strange messing with the camera just then because it threw me off. So I was looking into the buttons to see if I could change it, and I don't believe you can. But this is actually simulation driving. You're graded on accelerating out of junctions, stopping too suddenly, not abiding by the laws of the road, using turn signals, adhering to lights, all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in simulation driving in a kind of funky Japanese sandbox, there's a little bit in here that you might enjoy, but for me personally, and I've done all the driving missions for this character, I didn't like them at all. Like the sudden acceleration, you can lightly press the trigger on this controller and it'll still fuck you. You can tap it lightly and it'll still give you that penalty. Like it's very finicky stuff. You'll turn your turn indicator on and it'll turn off by itself and it'll penalise you even though you didn't turn it off. Like you'll stop at certain signs, nobody will walk across them, and you'll drive and you'll get penalised for it. Like all kinds of weird stuff. I also read somewhere that if you beep your horn it makes people walk across the road quicker. I've never seen that happen. This guy's just trolling me while we wait for the traffic lights. And the traffic lights take forever, dude. They're so much worse than traffic lights in real life. But all you get for this is upgrades for your cars and experience and money, which is useful, but there are so many other ways you can be doing it, and I don't find this stuff to be very enjoyable. But it's funny that they've got it in here, because one of the ways that I describe Yakuza is It's easy to draw comparisons to things like Grand Theft Auto, but without all the driving, and with considerably better combat. However, this game has some of the driving, and the races I really don't mind. I think the races are a little cheesy because they're cheap, but once you realise what it's all about and you understand to drift quite a lot to get your boost and you start upgrading your car, it becomes a much more fun side activity. But when you begin and you don't have any skills and your car's really shitty, it's not so great. But this stuff is just, if you like it, more power to you. I thought it was crappy, and the good news is a lot of the side missions that you do in this taxi are just cutscenes where you talk to people and you pick choices, and they're way more fascinating than this shit because they're actually really interesting stories. But right now we have a detective in our car. He spots a street racer and he commands us to catch him, and apparently a good way of catching this racer or embarrassing him is to beat him in a speed race on this crazy motorway. So my tips here is to mash, I think it's square, to continuously taunt. It will fill your boost gauge a little bit quicker than just driving, because it fills up your heat. And whenever you're not in a state of boost, I recommend fishtailing while holding the drift button to try and get a drift going, and as soon as you see the blue light, that means you get the boost. Release it and just chain boosts until you get to the heat actions, which is this one. Press triangle, see the crazy Japanese cutscene, and then win the win the race, sorry. There you go, the explosive acceleration. But as far as the racing goes, the only difficult race in the game is against the Spangled Meteor when you do not have upgrades, because the game has incredible rubber banding, which means that even when you have the biggest lead and you drive perfectly, the computer will catch you up and pass you guaranteed every single time, regardless of distance, because it's bullshit, but there is ways to beat it. However, this is the boss fight of the chapter. It's against Morinaga and Aizawa, and what I'm trying to do here is show off some of these fights a little bit more than perhaps you could, because I didn't realise just how easy EX hard mode was going to be. I expected more from it, a lot more from it, especially coming off of playing hard mode new game on Yakuza 3, which is considerably more difficult than this game. Had I known now, what I know now, I might have done this differently, because I don't know if you can start on EX hard from the beginning, or perhaps just done a new game hard, because you might be wondering what the difference in the difficulty is, and I don't really know. From what I've read, it makes the enemies a little bit more aggressive, they've got a little bit more life, and they do a little bit more damage. But the big thing is the checkpoint system. In this fight on hard, it would be very comparable to this, in my opinion. I think this is a very similar fight. The only difference is if they beat you, it gives you an option to retry, and it would have loaded it from the beginning of that fight. However, on this, you don't have it. It boots you to the menu and you have to load a save. And you know the last time I saved, when I was recording this, was at the very beginning of the level. So if I'd have wanted to got a really fancy fight here where I'm doing, you know, really cool moves and showing you some really awesome stuff, I would have had to do a full level reset. And there are times when the game doesn't let you save, so you can't really, you know, set up a good situation. So a lot of the gameplay you're going to see is probably going to be not that great, in as much as I would love to show you all the best ways to beat up this boss, but I don't really need to, because I'm doing really good damage to him. I've got almost infinite heat right now without using any of the items that do that, and the heat actions do so much damage, so instead of using them, I wanted to show you a bit of the fight, which is why I'm not just killing this guy. Which, ironically, spoiler alert, it turns out to be the last boss. Only then, he's a much different fight than this. So that's what I was trying to do previously when he tried to grab me. I was trying to see if I could do a Kamaki parry on it, or a tiger drop, and I just wasn't landing it at all, because apparently it's only weaponized at the end of it, or at the very beginning, and I just couldn't get the timing. But I managed to land it then, and then it usually means you can get behind them and do a full combo. Because how the combat works in this game is the enemies on the harder difficulties have a tendency to block and dodge, which they don't do so much on normal. They do it a lot more on the later difficulties, and it makes it difficult to land your moves and do what you want to do. So a strategy that will work on every Yakuza game, even Yakuza 1 and 2, is to dodge the first attack, get behind them, and then do the move from behind. Because if you hit the enemies from behind, they cannot block it. They can't There are exceptions to this. They can recover out of it, but it seems to be only certain enemies that can do it. That was a Tiger Drop. Incredibly powerful maneuver. Much better on this game than it is on Yakuza 3. But a key to doing really good damage is to dodge the first attack, get behind them, and unleash a full combo into maybe a juggle or into a heat action and build heat that way. And it's a really effective way of fighting. Certain enemies will not let you do this to them. It seems to be kind of convoluted in the way it's delivered. Bosses and like boss type enemies have a way of recovering after the first few initial hits unless they're fast. So you'll notice that the 3 squares and then a triangle move will land on some enemies, but on other enemies they'll recover in time to block the triangle. So you need to experiment and learn which ones you can do them to, and my advice for doing that is the Colosseum. The Colosseum in this game is wonderful because it teaches you how to fight. It's one-on-one, you can't use weapons, you can't use items, you have to fight, and it will really show you what works and what doesn't work. And a lot of the enemies in the Colosseum are way stronger than the people you'll fight on the street, way stronger than the mobs you'll fight. The only people who are stronger than them are the bosses, because they get these special properties that make them much better. This is hilarious, by the way. I'm taunting here to get my heat back, and then this guy gets up and he runs away. So I couldn't get my heat marks. So I'm like, come on, dude. And if they flee you, it ends the battle. But a really important aspect of this game is the eating. Whenever you enter a new area playing as a new character, these side missions will come up where you speak to this chef by the name, I think he's called Tetsuya. Then you have to find 3 areas that are restaurants in that town that you can tell him about, and once you tell him about all of them, when you eat at these restaurants it'll give you passive abilities and it'll double your HP bar. You want to always have 2 life bars and every single passive active, because it'll make you stronger, it'll make you faster, it'll make you better, and it just makes everything run smoother. And it's very easy to maintain once you understand how to play the game, and it gives you the best damage output you can physically do outside of having Amon's glasses and special equipment that gives you higher damage. But that's the end of Chapter 2. As you saw, folks, it's kind of all over the place as far as the video goes, because there's so much dialogue and story and character that you're missing out on. But those were all the gameplay beats, and when you're coming in here with an inherited character, I'm assuming you know how to play, so you shouldn't have any real trouble with what you've just witnessed. The next mission, you might, because there's a big fight coming up, but I'll talk about that when we get there. So thank you very much for listening, for watching, and as always, you take care now.